Hey people, welcome back. And in today's session, we will talk about the Sipoc. So Sipoc diagram is a visual representation of any business process in a kind of tabular format. And the acronym in Sipoc, that's S stand for supplier, I stand for input, P stand for process, O stand for output, and C stand for customer. So basically, it's a relationship metric between two key stakeholder. One is supplier and another one is the customer. So there is a supplier who supplies something as an input, which goes through the process step. Through the process, we convert this into output, and finally, we supply it to the customer, which means customer is the one who is receiving the output. So how a supplier is providing input for the process, which input is converted into output, and we sell it to the customer. This is what the Sipoc means. So it's perceived as a management view process map or high level process map as well, and used to define the inputs and output of a process from its initiation till the time it's complete. How the Sipoc has started? It's a very powerful tool. So Sipoc diagram origins you can trace as in 1980s as a part of the total quality management approach. And the Six Sigma model to continuous improvement process adopted this. And this technique used during the DMAC improvement cycle, which is this course I meant for, it's a black belt course, and Sipoc is a part of that. So as a part of DMAC improvement cycle and definition in the cycles, where the project goals, challenge, scope, and the time frames are clearly defined. I'm talking about the DMAC cycle. So why are the Sipoc diagram important? The Sipoc diagram allows to define the specification of a process, will help you that what are the inputs, what are the specifications, what are the output, what are the specification, and who is expected to supply the input, basically who is the supplier. So there is no misunderstanding among the stakeholders, and Sipoc will help you to identify the customers in the process along with their specific requirements as well. So what is the definition of Sipoc in simple format? Sipoc diagram represent the input and output of a process, which input is coming from the supplier and output is going to the customer in a simple tabular format. So let's understand the definition of this acronym. Who are the suppliers? So suppliers are the one who provide input to the process that have a direct impact on the output. And they can be internal organization or they can be third party, any of the supplier. In Sipoc diagram for upgrading the production line, suppose is an example. I will be showing you this example. The supplier can be maintenance team, line operator, contractor, or they can influence the output of the process when you are upgrading to the new production line. If you talk about the input are the resources, material, equipment, or any kind of data which we require to complete the process and produce the output. Because input is converted to the output through the process steps. These entitles are provided by the suppliers, and it's important to capture the most significant input. In an engineering process example, I will show you this example as well. These can be include creating electrical panel plans or drawings or prepare electrical installation in the cabling, etc. based on the input we do. Now the third and most important part comes as a process. So processes means the sequence of activities which convert input into the output. So refers the step that make up a process, connect the input with the output of the process, and this represent a process map including 4 or 5 maximum steps, very, very high level steps. When you are upgrading the production line, as an example, such steps could be posting, upgrading the equipment, establishing benchmark criteria for the new line testing. Now, when input goes through the process, this converted into the output. So what is the output? Output, the key process or service resulting from a process. This is what the output. So both input and the output can be any type of resources or completed actions. The output are broad and neutral in nature that reflect the value required by the customer. So what customer is paying for. If you being a customer is asking something, like as you are watching this video, so you are looking for knowledge. So I should be able to convert input based on the content, going through the process, creating this video, and that knowledge you want to capture or you wanted to absorb. That's what the output is, what perceived as an value by the customer. So the output, if engineering example I will take, process would include the variety of report, like a safety report, test operation report, energy savings, and many things will be the output. Now, who need this? Is the customer who is going to utilize these outputs. So refers to anyone, customer is anyone who benefits from the process output. Both supplier and customer can be internal or external to the organization. And the recipient of the output in an engineering process would be like maintenance team, maybe partners and clients, as well as the line operator. Now let's talk about some benefits of Sipoc. So the Sipoc tool can be used to bring on board not only new people unfamiliar with the process, but also helps to align the common understanding of a project goal. It's equally beneficial to employees and the stakeholders. So some of the benefits are here, like a Sipoc bring a transparency and alignment about the process across the organization, and it brings a common understanding about the process. Sipoc helps and it provides a high-level project overview for a strategic management and the strategic decision making. Sipoc can be used for the process documentation and template of the process and projects. Sipoc can be used as a training material for onboarding for the new joinees to making them understand what your process is as a high-level view. Sipoc helps to identify properly the supplier and customer or the key stakeholder who are the one who is supplying and what they are supplying, who are the one who is receiving this output and what format they are receiving the output. Sipoc will help you to clarify the inputs and output requirements. And Sipoc supports problem-solving initiative within the process. Now, these are the benefits. Let's understand how do we create a Sipoc. So for creation of Sipoc, you need to follow the 5 key steps. First, you need to map the process, which means to break down the process into maybe 5-6 high-level activities comprising the business processes. Now from the process, you need to identify the outputs, which include not more than 3 or 4 or 5 key output benefit, which you are going to get if you run this process in the business. Then who is going to receive this output, which is called as a customer. So identify the customer, determine the recipients of the process output, maybe external, maybe internal, maybe primary, or maybe secondary. Then you determine the process input, map the key input necessary for the process completion, and then you identify the suppliers, determine the suppliers of the input required by the process. Now, once this diagram is complete, it has to be shared with your project leaders and key stakeholders for the verification before you start implementing that. Why verification? Because you are involving multiple key stakeholders here. The way you are looking at the process or the supplier input, process output, or customer, maybe your key stakeholder have a different view. So it is important to get it validated before you start implementing that. Now, Just a high level understanding. Suppose you are a HR person and you are hiring a new candidate. So I'm going to tell you how a hiring process operation can be mapped using the Sipoc diagram. If you look for the hiring process, who is your supplier? Supplier is your human resource or hiring manager, and the applicants, these are the people who are providing you, like as human resources providing you the job post. Hiring manager is asking you for the interview questions or the list of questions, basic screening, and the interviews are supplied by the applicant. Now, what is the process we follow in a hiring? Hiring manager first identify the need for the hiring. Then second step will be they passing the need for the hiring, and the HR will post the vacancy. When the candidate will apply for that, and then they perform a pre-interview test. Like as once the pre-interview test is done, they send the list of the candidate who qualify the pre-interview to the hiring manager. Then next step, interviews will happen. Then finally, you will select the final candidate. You roll out the offer, and finally, employee will be on board. So these are the 6-7 steps we follow in a hiring process. What output you will get? Output from the supplier or from the hiring manager, you are publishing a job post. You being a human resource, you will be performing the screening and finally summarizing the interview. Who is the customer? Customer is your HR, customer is the hiring manager, as well as your applicants are the customer. So let's understand these things with a practical example of this. I will be showing you 2-3 examples. First, which I was telling you as in production line upgrade. So in production line upgrade, the process is first you establish and validating the production line criteria. For this, what you need the input, electrical plan and drawings, which will be supplied by the maintenance team. When the process is established, you will receive the output as a safety compliance report of the production line, and the maintenance team will be following the safety compliance report. Next step, when you go for the upgrading of the equipment, you need electrical installation, which will be supplied by the electrical contractor. As an output, you will get some kind of electrical saving or energy saving report, and the line operator will be using this. Third step may be testing the line for correct operation. You need input as a cabling, which will be supplied by the line operator. And after that, you will be receiving a test report, and end customer will be using this. This is related to the engineering line update. Let's talk about as a human, you wanted to buy a car. So for a car purchase, first you will perform a test drive once you select this. What you need for the test drive, you need the different car models, and these car dealers will be supplying you this model. Output, you will receive when you perform a car, and you will decide this is a car is there. And you being a customer as a car buyer here. Second step, shortlisting model that pass the pre-test. For that, you need some specifications, and you have your own specification as an individual. What you need actually in the car, maybe you need the engine capacity, or you need the torque, you need the leg space, you need the boot space, you need the height, you need the tire, and so many things. You will be completing all the paperwork for this, and finally, companies will be the customer. When the purchase step will come, it's need pricing before purchasing, and the car dealers or the companies will be deciding the pricing. Finally, you are creating a service contract and you are sending to the customers or the resellers. Last example, let's take for the restaurant food operation for the service industry again. So processes prepare the cook operations. What you need the recipes for the food preparation. Suppliers are the owner. And output, you will be getting the cooked meal, which will be given to the owners itself. Now, when you prep cook operation, adding the ingredient will be the next step. For that, you need the ingredient like as fruits, vegetable, dairy products, whatever. Supplier will be the raw food suppliers who is supplying you this, and ultimately output will be your cooked meals here as well. Will be sending to or selling to the customer. Now, as in next step, cooking special something, you need electricity and gas, electricity and power and the gas provider will be, and output will be the consumption report of that. And ultimately customer will be your owners, or the supplier will be the customer in this case both. So that's about the Sipoc, and this is the example. I hope any of these three examples you can easily relate to your industry. And in the next sessions, I will be talking about the process mapping. Till the time, take care, bye-bye, and I'll see you in the next session. Thank you so much.